What's up, YouTube? We back with another video, baby. 520 push-ups, night routine. You feel me? The prison style. Getting that little pump out. No, we ain't worried about the full extensions, none of that. You feel me? We just getting our pump, blowing our chest up. Today is day 11 of 90. Day 11 of 90, man. Let's finish strong. We're going to cut our podcast on, and we're going to get straight to business.
Pay the price of undergoing test after test as to his faith. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I see evidence everywhere that that's true. Any negative state of mind will destroy the power of faith and result in a negative climax. Your state of mind is everything. Why do you suppose that, in my notes here, you notice that I have underscored, your state of mind is everything. I underscored for emphasis. Why do you suppose I wanted to emphasize that statement?
30.
That's right. That's the only thing you have control over. The only thing in this world that you have control over is your state of mind. And certainly that connotes
29.
the fact that the Creator intended that to be the most important asset that you have, and it is, because with the use of that mind, you can project it into any objective or to the attainment of any end you choose. Your education, your background, your nationality, your creed has nothing whatsoever to do with your ability to achieve. It's the state of mind that you maintain. That's the thing that determines how and what and when you achieve.
28.
To me, that's the most profound thing in all of the knowledge of mankind. The most profound of all knowledge is the fact that the humblest person can take possession of his own mind. He can color it any way he chooses. He can project it into high places or into the gutter. He can make it a success or he can make it a failure. Just the change of his mental attitude changes from success to failure almost instantly. A burning desire is the sort of material of which faith is created. Do you know what a burning desire is? That's right, obsessional desire. Obsessional means a desire that takes possession of you, obsesses you. There are a lot of desires in the world, but they're not burning desires, and they're not obsessional desires. And most people in their whole life never express or never experience an obsessional desire for anything. We start out with hopes, not too definite, but faint hopes for things. Then wishes. Everybody wishes for a lot of money without having to work for it. Well, maybe not everybody, but of course my students don't. But a lot of people do. Most people, I'll say, wish for things. Wish for a Cadillac when they're driving a Ford. If you want a Cadillac car and you make up your mind to have it, get out and see that the men under you or the job that you're holding, see that you put into it that which will entitle you to the Cadillac car.
26.
But if you don't want a Cadillac car, chances are you'll drive a Ford or something else the rest of your life. You have to want things. You have to want them with a burning desire, and then you have to do something about that burning desire. What is it? Action. You've got to start in right where you stand, showing that you do have faith in your ability. Start right where you stand with action. Now, here's a lot of examples of men of achievement. I'm not going to go over them. You know them. But there is one down here that I particularly want to call your attention to, that of Miss Helen Keller, who believed that she would learn to talk despite the fact that she had lost the use of her speech, her sight, and her hearing.
25
Can you imagine
next.
that? Lost the use early in life of her speech, her sight, and her hearing. She couldn't hear, she couldn't see, and she couldn't speak. And yet, did you know, of course you do know, that Miss Helen Keller became one of the best educated women in the world. She's in contact with more of public affairs and civic affairs and conditions all over the world than the 9/10 of the women who have all of their senses. Isn't it an astounding thing? And all she has to go by is the vibration. If you speak to her, she puts your fingers up to her lips, and she can tell what you're saying by her fingertips. Entirely by vibration.
24.
Think with a woman with a handicap of that kind all the way through life, getting joy out of life, rendering useful service, making speeches. She's learned after a fashion to talk. Doing a great work where the majority of people would have settled for a tin cup and a bunch of lead pencils on a street corner with any one of those afflictions. While I was on the staff of Franklin D. Roosevelt, I passed at the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and the street running by the White House, every day I passed a man sitting there with a tin cup and some pencils. I became acquainted with that man. He had lost the use of his legs. He had the same affliction as Franklin D. Roosevelt, exactly.
23.
And happened at about the same time. And I found out that he had even a better education than Franklin D. Roosevelt had. But there he was, out there with a tin cup and pencils, trying to eke out a living by begging. There was just a block away, there was a man with the most important and responsible position in the whole world, running a great nation, who also had lost the use of his legs, but he hadn't lost the use of his brain. He hadn't lost confidence in himself. These afflictions that come along, sometimes they turn out to be a great blessing. They teach us that, very often they teach us that we can get along without an eye, or without both eyes, or without legs, or without hands.
22.
We get along without a lot of things, if we have the right mental attitude toward what's left of us. That's important. If you would have faith, keep your mind on that which you want, and not on that which you do not want. Now, how do you go about that? How does one go about keeping his mind off of the things he doesn't want? Look up that word transmute and see what it means. Look it up in the dictionary. You know in the general way, but look it up just for because it'll be more impressive in your subconscious mind.
Transmute.
The way you keep your mind off of things you don't want is to transfer your mind over to things you do want and start talking about them. Start giving thanks for already possessing them.
21 next.
It sounds perfectly silly to anybody who doesn't know what you're doing. It won't sound silly to you because you know what you're doing. You're talking to your subconscious mind. You're re-educating yourself. You're keeping your mind fixed on things you want and off of the things you don't want. And in order to do that, you have to keep talking. You have to keep thinking. You can't talk without thinking. Well, some people can, but most of them can't. Keep on talking about things you want. And if you ever feel blue or discouraged or lacking in courage, I'll tell you a good remedy for it. May I? Sit down and take a tablet and start numbering. Number 1, the thing that you want most in life. Number 2, the thing that you want next most. Number 3, the thing you want next most. And when it gets down to the kind of a house you live, describe the lot that you want it on, whether you want it on a lot of acreage, on top of the hill, or down below the road, or above the road, how many rooms you want that house to have, how you want each room furnished. Why, you have a grand time furnishing those rooms. Well, it'll be it'll be better than window shopping, because you can go the limit in your own mind. In window shopping, you only have 2 legs, you can only walk so far. Do a little mental window shopping. And believe you me, you'll get your mind off of that moodiness, you'll get it onto something that's constructive, and you'll be educating your subconscious mind to keep on the right side of the street and away from the other side of the railroad tracks.
19.
The assignment I'm giving you now is not foolish. It's not facetious. It's a real assignment, and you'll get real joy out of doing it. Start right in doing something physically, writing down the things that you want when anything bothers you. I don't know why it is that when a person makes up his mind what he wants and becomes determined to get it, that the whole powers of the universe seem to come to his aid to see that he gets it. I don't know why that is, but I'll tell you one thing, I know that it is, and that's enough for me. There are a lot of things in this world that I can see, a lot of advantages I can use that I don't understand, but I don't need to understand them. I know which button to press to get the result I want, and I don't need to know what happens between the pressing of that button and the result that happens. I know that if you follow the instructions in this philosophy, I know that you'll be able to take possession of your own mind. You will be able to get the things out of life that you want. You will be able to make life pay off on your own terms. I know that. How would I know, do you suppose, that any person can actually make life pay off point by point on his own terms instead of accepting the circumstances? How would I know that?
17.
There is only one way in this world that I could possibly know that, and that's by my own experiences. I can tell you as sincerely as I'm standing here on this platform talking to you tonight, there isn't a blessed thing in this world that I want that I don't have or can't get easily. Not anything. What an astounding statement that is. If you go back just a few years ago, what an astounding statement it is, because it's so broadly in contrast with what I might have said a few years back.
16.
Before I'd learned the secret of getting everything that I want. Do you know there was a time when I was carrying around in my own pocket the matches with which I was setting my house of opportunity afire and didn't know it. And I finally got rid of those matches. I began to build that house of opportunity. And they commenced to find out that the house resembled the picture of it that I built in my mind, right down to the finest detail. Well, there's no such thing as a blanket faith. You must have a definite objective, a purpose, a goal before you can have faith in anything. Faith is a mental attitude wherein the mind is cleared of all fears and doubts and directed toward the attainment of something definite through the inspiration of infinite intelligence. Faith is guidance. It is nothing more. Had you ever thought about that? Faith is guidance. It's nothing more than that.
Faith is guidance.
Faith's not going to go out and get you that Cadillac or that mink coat or that new house that you want or that better job or that better business or all those clients that you need if you're a professional. Faith's not going to do that.
14.
But faith will guide you as to how you can do it. And you'll find that there is always a part that you must play. The Creator wisely arranged it so that we can produce our food from the soil of the earth. Everything that we eat, use, or wear comes from the earth. Everything. And infinite intelligence has very wisely provided a system whereby you can be sure of getting your food out of the soil of the earth.
13.
How? By complying with the laws of nature. You go out there and you plant the seed. You plant it in soil that you have examined to make sure it has the elements in there that you want into the plant. You plant it at the right season. You plant it at the right depth in the ground.
12.
All of those things you do in way of going the extra mile. You do them in advance. And then what do? You go back the next day and start harvesting, do you? No, you time it properly. You find out what nature requires in order to produce to convert or transmute a seed of wheat into a stalk of wheat with 500 or 1,000 grains on it. And you comply with nature's laws. That's what you do. And
11.
the same thing identically in connection with this subject of faith. In anything else, you expect guidance. You do your part. You have to do your part. You always will find that there's a part that you must do in connection with any example of a demonstration of faith. Faith will do nothing for you if you expect everything to be done for you outside of yourself. It's guidance. If you expect to get the answer, there you'll have it.
10.
And faith probably, now notice that word probably down there. Why do you think I say faith probably works through the subconscious section of the mind? I'll tell you why I put it there, because nobody knows definitely whether it does or not. It's a theory, and for want of a better theory, I'm using it. It appears to work through the subconscious section of the mind, the subconscious acting as the gateway between the conscious section of the mind and infinite intelligence.
4 sets, 25.
My mental picture of what happens when you pray properly is that you first condition your mind, you know what it is you want,
First
and then
set
you
of 25.
transfer over to your subconscious mind a clear picture. That subconscious is the intermediary or the gatekeeper between you and infinite intelligence. It's the only one that can turn on the power of infinite intelligence for you. It's the only way you can reach into infinite intelligence in my book of rules. And if that isn't correct, as far as I'm concerned, it might as well be correct, because that's the way I get it to work. Now, the definite essential steps in the development of self-reliance based on faith. If there's anything that people need more than everything else, it's self-reliance, belief in yourself. Here are the steps. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'm going to call your attention to the most important ones.
Second set of 25.
First of all, you adopt a major purpose and begin at once to attain it. That's the first step in building self-confidence. You know, when you know what you want and you start in getting it, you have a measure of self-reliance. You're demonstrating a measure of self-reliance, because if you didn't believe in yourself, you wouldn't even begin, would you? The very fact that you start, even though you're a long way from attaining the thing you're going after, shows that you have a measure or a degree of self-reliance. And the more you pursue that idea, the stronger that belief will be.
All right. Pause it where I always pause it. Basically catch a little breather while I explain this to y'all. 50 reps left on the table, man. You ain't feeling too good, you can go ahead and hit 5 sets of 10. Feeling immaculate, hit 50 straight. And if you stick it to the routine like me, go ahead and hit 2 sets, 25. We got about 8 minutes left in this podcast, so we might finish it up today for real. Honestly, finish it up, and then my boy sent me another one, my boy D-Rax, and we gonna go ahead and pop that on for day 12.
Associate as many as possible of the 9 basic motives with the object of the definite major purpose. In other words, have yourself inspired by as many as possible of those 9 basic motives. when you go after anything. You know, you've had this experience. You wanted something very badly, and in order to get to something that you wanted very badly, a material something, it meant extra money that you couldn't lay your hands on. You didn't have it in the bank, you weren't earning it. Now, what do you do in the case of that kind?
Almost set.
Well, a lot of people do. There's always something else, too, that you can do that's more important than borrowing. Why, you begin to connive and work out some sort of a scheme to earn some more money, don't you? That's what you do.
Last set 25.
My little son Blair, when he's about 6 or 7 years old, wanted a nice an electrical train. It cost $50. And it was more than we felt we could give him at that time because we'd had to give the other 2 children $50 gifts too. And I told Blair that. He said, oh, I didn't ask you to buy me anything. I said, well, that's different. Fine. He said, I just wanted your approval to buy the train. And then he made out the order. Lionel train, $50. And there came a big snow the next day, and he borrowed a shovel from the janitor, and he went down the street cleaning off sidewalks. Didn't ask anybody if he could do it. He just started cleaning off the sidewalks.
So we wrapping it up here, man. It's about 5 minutes left on this podcast. So if you want to go ahead and go listen to this, it's on Spotify. It's called The Power of the Mastermind. 2, Napoleon Hill. The author is, I guess, The Resilient Mind or whatever. Feel me? But yeah, man, day 11 in the books. Another 520 push-ups, baby. Looking forward to day 12. Boom, out.